So we're going to read Exodus. So we're in Exodus. And I'm reading out of the NLT Bible. So let's pray first. Father God, protect my privacy, and I pray the neighbors mind their business and seek you for salvation. I pray that they live in peace and mind their business, and I pray that you protect me from my enemies and give me wisdom to read this Bible and not worry about them and not focus on you. Amen. So Exodus, have others. So we're going to read the article first. It's a little article before you read the chapter. Exodus, have others made promises to you or have made promises to others? Promises are an important part of life. We often make promises to do things for people or be places on time. Whether we keep those promises is another story. Yet when others make promises to us, we expect them to keep their word. The book of Exodus is all about God's promises to his people. We walk along with Moses and the people of Israel as they make their escape from Egypt. We also experience the giving and receiving of God's rules for living, called the 10 Commandments. God kept his promise to deliver the Israelites from slavery and lead them to a home of their own. Just as God was faithful to keep his promises he was made to Israel. He will keep every promise he has made to us. He promises to love us no matter what, to care for and protect us, to help us overcome any temptation, to comfort and to teach us, and to make us a new creation. The Exodus key points, rescue and redemption, is the redemption. God rescued Israel through Moses and mighty miracles. God gave the Passover celebration as a reminder of their escape from slavery. Everyone needs deliverance from sin. Jesus Christ completed that. God's plan for our redemption by dying in our place. God brought Israel out of slavery by using miracles, strong leadership in the law. God demonstrates his power in our lives through the Bible. The movement of the Holy Spirit, the guidance of wise leaders, and the effort of Christian friends working together. He can be trusted to give us the guidance we need to follow his will. The 10 Commandments. God used the 10 Commandments to teach Israel the importance of making the right choices and accepting responsibility for their actions. Both are key to our growth as Christians. So, Exodus chapter 1, the Israelites in Egypt. There are the names of the sons of Israel, that is Jacob, who moved to Egypt with their father, each with his family: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all Jacob had 70 descendants in Egypt, including Joseph, who was already there in time. Joseph and all his brothers died, ending the entire generation. But the descendants, the Israelites, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly that they became extremely powerful and filled the land. Eventually, a new king came to power in Egypt, who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done. He said to his people, "Look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we are. We must plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, and if war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us. Then they will escape from the country." So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down with crushing labor. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses as supply center for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread, and the more alarmed the Egyptians became. So the Egyptians worked the people of Israel without mercy. They made their lives bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and make bricks and do all the work in the fields. They were ruthless in all their demands. Then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave this order to the Hebrew midwives. Shipra and Puah, however you say their name, I don't know how to pronounce good. Shipra and Puah, Shiphrah and Puh. When you help the Hebrew women as they give birth, watch as they deliver. If the baby is a boy, kill him. That's what he told them to do, kill the boy. If it's a girl, let her live. But because the midwives feared God, they refused to obey the king's orders. They allowed the boys to live. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives. "Why have you done this?" he demanded. "Why have you allowed the boys to live?" "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women," the midwives replied. "They are more vigorous and have their babies so quickly that we cannot get there in time." So God was good to the midwives, and the Israelites continued to multiply, growing more and more powerful. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. And then Pharaoh gave the order to all his people: "Throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile River, but you may let the girls live." The life lesson to the chapter, and then and now God takes care of his people. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Jacob's family moved to Egypt at the invitation of Jacob's son Joseph, who had become a great ruler under Pharaoh. Jacob's family grew into a large nation, but as foreigners within the land, their lifestyle was quite different from that of the Egyptians. The Hebrews worshipped one God, and the Egyptians worshipped many gods. The Hebrews were wanderers. The Egyptians had a deeply rooted culture, and the Hebrews were shepherds. The Egyptians were builders. If you're a Christian, your lifestyle is foreign to those who lack your knowledge of Christ, unbelievers. Are you a foreigner who stands out, a Chalaman who blends in with the crowd? The birth of Moses, Exodus chapter 2. About this time, a man and woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus, sea reeds, and waterproof it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. And the baby's sister then stood at distance watching to see what would happen to him. Soon Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This must be one of the Hebrew children," she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess. "Should I go find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" she asked. "Yes, do," the princess replied. So the girl went and called the baby's mother. "Take this baby and nurse him for me," the princess told the baby's mother. "I will pay you for your help." So the woman took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. The princess named him Moses, for she explained, "I lifted him out of the water." Moses escaped to Midian. Many years later, when Moses had grown up, he went out to visit his own people, the Hebrews, and he saw how hard they were forced to work. During his visit, he saw an Egyptian beating one of his fellow Hebrews. After looking in all directions to make sure no one was watching, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid the body in the sand. The next day, when Moses went out to visit his people again, he saw 2 Hebrew men fighting. "Why are you beating up your friend?" Moses said to the one who had started the fight. The man replied, "Who appointed you to be our prince and judge? Are you going to kill me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" Then Moses was afraid, thinking, "Everyone knows what I did." And sure enough, Pharaoh heard of what had happened, and he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in the land of Midian. When Moses arrived in Midian, he sat down beside a well. And now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters who came as usual to draw water and fill the water through for the father's flock. But some other shepherds came and chased them away. So Moses jumped and rescued the girls from the shepherds. Then he drew water for their flocks. When the girls returned, Reuel, their father, he asked, "Why are you back so soon today?" "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds," they answered. "And then he drew water for us and watered our flocks." "Then where is he?" the father asked. "Why did you leave him there? Invite him to come and eat with us." Moses accepted the invitation and he settled there with him. In time, Reuel gave Moses his daughter Zipporah to be his wife. Later, she gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, for he explained, "I have been a foreigner in a foreign land." Years passed, and the king of Egypt died, but the Israelites continued to groan under the burden of slavery. They cried out for help, and their cry rose up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He looked down on the people of Israel and knew it was time to act. Many chapters. So like 40 chapters in here. I don't know why they always come in a certain light. That they can hear me talking. I'm only reading the Bible now though, so it doesn't matter. So it's a little article in the Bible. I have a kid's Bible, but it's okay for grown-ups. Can gain knowledge even though it's a child's Bible. But I'm gonna read this Bible, this article. So she said, my parents are divorced when I was pretty young in 8th grade. I moved from my mom's house into my dad's house, something I wanted to do. However, that meant I had to change schools and leave a place I loved. My school was far from anything I ever experienced. The students there were much different from my old friends, and many were involved in gangs. There were problems all the time with fights, drugs, smoking, cussing, and kids being expelled. I was hesitant to even try and make new friends. I basically put myself on autopilot the entire school year, just doing my work and stepping outside of my comfort zone as little as possible. Looking back, I wish I had made a conscious effort to get to know more people. I could have shared Jesus' love and rather than complain about my loneliness. I could have looked for people who would have made good friends. So if you ever move, you know how hard it is to be the new child, but it is also the perfect opportunity to meet people, even tell them about Jesus Christ. Just because you're new and different. I definitely did not make the most of my time at school. If I could do it again, I would. Not complain so much, blaming God for placing me in a difficult situation. Instead, I would focus on making the most out of the opportunity God has given me. Exodus chapter 2, verse 7, verse 8 tells us Moses' sister Miriam made the most of an opportunity God had given her to her. Miriam saw that Pharaoh's daughter has discovered Moses. Quickly, she took the initiative to suggest a nurse who might care for the baby, their mother. The Bible doesn't say whether Miriam was afraid to approach the Egyptian princess or whether the princess was suspicious of the Hebrew girl. But Miriam did approach her, and as a result, her family was reunited. Special opportunities may come our way unexpectedly, so don't let the fear of what might happen cause you to miss the opportunity. Be alert for the opportunities God gives you and take full advantage of them. See Acts 25. 6. So Acts 25-23. So the next day, Agrippa and Bernice arrived at the auditorium with the great pomp, accompanied, I don't know how to say the word, accompanied by military officers and prominent men of the city. Festus ordered that Paul be brought in. Then Festus said, King Agrippa and all who are here, this is the man whose death is demanded by all Jews, both here in Jerusalem, but in my opinion, he has done nothing deserving death. However, since he appealed his case to the emperor, I have decided to send him to Rome. Exodus chapter 3. One day Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he fled the flock far into the wilderness and came to Sinai, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Moses stared in amazement, though the bush was engulfed in flames. It didn't burn up. This is amazing, Moses said to himself. Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it. When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called to him from the middle of the bush, Moses, Moses. Here I am, Moses replied. Do not come any closer. The Lord warned, take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. When Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord told him, I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. Yes, I'm aware of their suffering, so I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile and spacious land. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abused them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt. But Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? God answered, I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought this people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. But Moses protested, if I go to the people of Israel and tell them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? Then what should I tell them? God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my eternal home. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Now go and call together all the elders of Israel and tell them, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me. He told me, I have been watching closely, and I see how the Egyptians are treating you. I have promised to rescue you from your oppression in Egypt. I will lead you to a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. The elders of Israel will accept your message. Then you and the elders must go to the king of Egypt and tell him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, of the Hebrews has met with us, so please let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand forces him. So I will raise my hand and strike the Egyptians, performing all kinds of miracles among them. Then at last he will let you go, and I will cause the Egyptians to look favorably on you. They will give you gifts when you go, so you will not leave empty-handed. Every Israelite woman will ask for articles of silver and gold and fine clothing from her Egyptian neighbors, and from the foreign women in their houses. You will register your sons and your daughters with these stripping the Egyptians of their wealth. Exodus chapter 4. The signs of the Lord's power. But Moses protested again. What if they don't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, the Lord never appeared to you? Then the Lord asked him, what is that in your hand? A shepherd's staff, Moses replied. Throw it down on the ground. The Lord told him. So Moses threw down the staff, and it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back. Then the Lord told him, reach out and grab its tail. So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and it turned back into a shepherd's staff in his hand. Perform the sign, the Lord told him. Then they will believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, really has appeared to you. Then the Lord said to Moses, now put your hand inside your cloak. So Moses put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out again, his hand was white as snow, with a severe skin disease. Now put your hand back into your cloak, the Lord said. So Moses put his hand back in, and when he took it out again, it was as healthy as the rest of his body. The Lord said to Moses, if they do not believe you and are not convinced by the first miracle sign, they will be convinced by the second sign. And if they don't believe you or listen to you even after these 2 signs, then take some water from the Nile River and pour it out on dry ground. When you do, the water from the Nile will turn to blood on the ground. But Moses pleaded with the Lord, oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. It's like me. I'm not good with words either. I never have been, and I am not now, even though you have spoken to me. I get tongue-tied, and my words get tangled. It's me. Then the Lord asked Moses, who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak? Hear or do not hear? See or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say. Genesis chapter 4, verse 2, verse 4. A shepherd's staff was commonly a 3 to 6-foot wooden rod with a curved hook at the top. The shepherd used it for walking, guiding his sheep, killing snakes, and many other tasks. Still, it was just a stick. But with God's power, the ordinary shepherd's staff Moses carried became extraordinary. Think about the ordinary things in your life: your voice, a pen, a hammer, a broom, a musical instrument. It's easy to discern that God only uses special items and skills for his work, or that he only works with an artistic genius like Michelangelo. I can say it. Michelangelo, or an amazing gift art guitarist. But God takes delight in using ordinary items and skills for extraordinary purposes. But Moses again pleaded, Lord, please send someone else. Then the Lord became angry with Moses. All right, he said. What about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he speaks well. And look, he is on his way to meet you now. He will be delighted to see you. Talk to him and put your words in his mouth. Talk to him and put the words in his mouth. I will be both of you as you speak, and I will instruct you both in what to do. Aaron will be your spokesman to the people, and he will be your mouthpiece. And you will stand in the place of God for him, telling him what to say, and take your shepherd's staff with you, and use it to perform the miracle signs I have shown you. Moses returns to Egypt. So Moses went back home to Jericho, his father-in-law. Please let me return to my relatives in Egypt, Moses said. I don't even know if they are still alive. Go in peace, Jericho replied. Before Moses left Midian, the Lord said to him, return to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you have died. So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and headed back to the land of Egypt. In his hand he carried the staff of God. And the Lord told Moses, when you arrive back in Egypt, go to Pharaoh and perform all the miracles I have empowered you to do. But I will harden his heart, so he refused to let the people go. Then you will tell him, this is what the Lord says, Israel is my firstborn son. I commanded you, let my son go, so he can worship me. But since you have refused, I will now kill your firstborn son. On the way to Egypt, at a place where Moses and his family had stopped for the night, the Lord confronted him and was about to kill him. But Moses' wife Zipporah took a flint knife and circumcised her son. She touched his feet with the foreskin and said, now you are a bridegroom of blood to me. When she said a bridegroom of blood, she was referring to the circumcision. After that, the Lord left him alone. Now the Lord had said to Aaron, go out into the wilderness to meet Moses. So Aaron went and met Moses at the mountain of God, and he embraced him. Moses then told Aaron everything the Lord had commanded him to say, and he told him about the miracles and signs the Lord had commanded him to perform. Then Moses and Aaron returned to Egypt and called all the elders of Israel together. Aaron told them everything the Lord had told Moses, and Moses performed the miracle sign as they watched. Then the people of Israel were convinced that the Lord had sent Moses and Aaron, and when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshiped. Exodus chapter 5. Moses and Aaron speak to Pharaoh. After this presentation to Israel's leaders, Moses and Aaron went and spoke to Pharaoh. They told him, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, let my people go so they hold a festival in my honor in the wilderness. Is that so? Retorted Pharaoh. And who is the Lord? Why should I listen to him and let Israel go? I don't know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. But Aaron and Moses persisted. The God of the Hebrews has met with us, and they declared, so let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness so we can offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. If we don't, he will kill us with a plague or with a sword. Pharaoh replied, Moses and Aaron, why are you distracting the people from their tasks? Get back to work. Look, there are many of your people in the land, and you are stopping them from their work. Genesis chapter 5, verse 1, verse 3. Pharaoh would not listen to Moses and Aaron because he did not know the God of Israel. People who do not know God may choose to ignore his word or his messengers who want to share the gospel with them. But that is no excuse to give up trying to tell them the truth. Like Moses and Aaron, persistence counts. When others reject you or your faith, don't be surprised or discouraged. Instead, continue to tell them about God, trust in him to open closed minds and soften stubborn hearts. making bricks without straw. That same day, Pharaoh sent his order to the Egyptian slave drivers and the Israelite foremen. Do not supply any more straw for making bricks. Make the people get it themselves, but still require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Don't reduce the quota. They are lazy. That's why they are crying out. Let us go and offer sacrifices to our God. Load them down with more work. Make them sweat. That will teach them to listen to lies. So the slave drivers and foremen went out and told the people, this is what Pharaoh says, I will not provide any straw for you. Go and get it yourself. Find it wherever you can, but you must produce just as many bricks as before. So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt in search of stubble to use as straw. Meanwhile, the Egyptian slave drivers continued to push hard. Meet your daily quota of bricks, just as you did when we provided you with straw. They demanded. Then they whipped the Israelite foremen they had put in charge of the work crews. Why haven't you met your quotas either yesterday or today? They demanded. So the Israelite foremen went to Pharaoh and pleaded with them, please don't treat your servants like this. They begged, we are given no straw, but the slave drivers still demand. Make bricks. We are being beaten, but it isn't our fault. Your own people are to blame. But Pharaoh shouted, you're just lazy. That's why you're saying, let us go offer sacrifices to the Lord. Now get back to work. No straw will be given to you, but you must still produce the full quota of bricks. The Israelites' foremen could see that they were in serious trouble when they were told, you must not reduce the number of bricks you make each day. As they left Pharaoh's court, they confronted Moses and Aaron, who were waiting outside for them. The foreman said to them, may the Lord judge and punish you for making us stink before Pharaoh and his officials. You have put a sword into their hands and accused to kill us. Then Moses went back to the Lord and protested, why you brought all this trouble on your own people, Lord? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh as your spokesman, he has been even more brutal to your people, and you have done nothing to rescue them. Exodus chapter 6, promise of deliverance. Then the Lord told Moses, now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh. When he feels the force of my strong hand, he will let my people go. In fact, he will force them to leave this land. And God said to Moses, I am Yahweh, the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as El Shaddai, God Almighty. But I did not reveal my name Yahweh to them, and I reaffirmed my covenant with them. Under its terms, I promised to give them the land of Canaan, where they were living as foreigners. You can be sure that I have heard the groans of the people of Israel who are now slaves to the Egyptians, and I am well aware of my covenant with them. Therefore say to the people of Israel, I am the Lord, I will free you from your oppression, and will rescue you from your slavery in Egypt. I will redeem you with a powerful arm and a great act of judgment. I will claim you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord, your God, who has freed you from your oppression in Egypt. I will bring you into the land I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you as your very own possession. I am the Lord. So Moses told the people of Israel what the Lord had said, but they refused to listen anymore. They had become too discouraged by the brutality of their slavery. And then the Lord said to Moses, go back to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and tell him to let the people of Israel leave his country. But the Lord Moses objected. My own people won't listen to me anymore. How can I expect Pharaoh to listen? I'm such a clumsy speaker. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and gave them orders for the Israelites and for Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Lord commanded Moses and Aaron to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt. Okay, let's see. How much I'm gonna read? So I can read to page 16. The ancestors of Moses and Aaron, these are the ancestors of some of the clans of Israel. The sons of Reuben, Israel's oldest son, were Hanok, Palu, Herazon, and Carmi. Their descendants became the clans of Reuben. The sons of Simon were Jeremiel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachan, Zor, and Shah. Shah's mother was a Canaanite woman, and their descendants became the clans of Simeon. These are the descendants of Levi as listed in our family records. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Levi lived to be 137 years old. The descendants of Gershon, including Levian and Shimea, and each of them became the ancestors of a clan. The descendants of Kohath, including Amram, Israel, Hebron, and Aziel. Kohath lived to be 133 years old, and the descendants of Merari, including Merari. I can't even say these words, it's so difficult. And Mushi. These are the clans of Levites as listed in their family records. Amram married his father's sister, Jochebed, and she gave birth to his sons Aaron and Moses. Aram lived to be 137 years old. The sons of Israel were Korah, Nepheg, and Zikri. The sons of Israel were Mishael, Ezran, and Sitri. Aaron married Elizabeth, the daughter of Amidan and sister of Nashia, and she gave birth to his son Nabat and Abiu, Eleazar, and Idhamar. The son of Korah were Asher. The descendants became the clans of Korah. Ezra, son of Aaron, married one of the daughters of Piro and gave birth to his sons Phineas. These are the ancestors of Levi families listed according to the clans. I don't know how to say their names. They're so weird names. The Aaron and Moses name in the list are the same ones to whom the Lord said, "Lead the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army." It was Moses and Aaron who spoke to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, about leading the people of Israel out of Egypt. When the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, he said to him, "I am the Lord. Tell Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, everything I'm telling you." But Moses argued with the Lord, saying, "I can't do it. I'm such a clumsy speaker. Why should Pharaoh listen to me?" Genesis chapter 7. Aaron's staff becomes a servant. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Pay close attention to this. I will make you seem like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. Tell Aaron everything I commanded you, and Aaron must command Pharaoh to let the people of Israel leave his country. But I will make Pharaoh's heart stubborn so I can multiply my miracle signs and wonders in the land of Egypt." Even then Pharaoh refused to listen to you, so I will bring down my fist on Egypt. Then I will rescue my forces, my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt, with great acts of judgment. And when I raise my powerful hand and bring out the Israelites, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 when they made their demands to Pharaoh. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Pharaoh will demand, 'Show me a miracle.' When he does this, say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and throw it down in front of Pharaoh, and then will become a servant.' So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did what the Lord had commanded them. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh called in his own wise men and sorcerers, and these Egyptian magicians did the same thing with their magic. They threw down their staffs, which also became serpents. But then Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Pharaoh's heart, however, remained hard. He still refused to listen, just as the Lord had predicted. A pack of blood. Then the Lord said to Moses, "For Pharaoh's heart is stubborn, and he still refuses to let the people go. So go to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes down to the river. Stand on the bank of the Nile and meet with him there. Be sure to take along the staff that turned into a snake. Then announce to him, 'The Lord, the God of your Hebrews, has sent me to tell you, let my people go, so they can worship me in the wilderness. Until now you have refused to listen to him. So this is what the Lord says. I will show you that I am the Lord. Look, I will strike the water of the Nile with the staff in my hand, and the river will turn to blood. The fish in it will die, and the river will stink. The Egyptians will not be able to drink any water from the Nile.' Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Tell Aaron, take your staff and raise your hand over the waters of Egypt. All of its waters, canals, I can't say it. Canals, ponds, and all the reservoirs, turn all the water to blood. Everywhere in Egypt, the water were turned to blood, even the water stored in wooden bowls and stone pots.' So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. As Pharaoh and all his officials watched, Aaron raised his staff and struck the water of the Nile. Suddenly the whole river turned to blood. The fish in the river died, and the water became so foul that the Egyptians couldn't drink it. There was blood everywhere throughout the land of Egypt. But again, the magicians of Egypt used their magic, and they too turned the water into blood. So Pharaoh's heart remained hard. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. Pharaoh returned to his palace and put the whole thing out of his mind. And then all the Egyptians dug along the riverbank to find drinking water, for they couldn't drink the water from the Nile. 7 days passed from the time the Lord struck the Nile. Exodus chapter 8. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go back to Pharaoh and announce to him, 'This is what the Lord says. Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will send a plague of frogs across your entire land. The Nile River will swarm with frogs, and they will come up out of the river and into your palace, even into your bedroom and onto your bed. They will enter the houses of your officials and your people, and they will even jump into your ovens and your kneading bowls. Frogs will jump on you, your people, and all your officials.' Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Tell Aaron, raise the staff in your hand over all the river canoes, and ponds of Egypt, and bring up the frogs over all the land.' So Aaron raised his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the whole land. But the magicians were able to do the same thing with their magic. They too caused frogs to come up on the land of Egypt. And then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and begged, 'Plead with the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people. I will let your people go so they can offer up sacrifices to the Lord.' 'You set the time,' Moses replied. 'Tell me when you want me to pray for you, your officials, and your people.'" Genesis chapter 7, verse 1, God's ambassador. God made Moses his representative. He was like God to Pharaoh. Christians are God's representatives, showing the world a lifestyle that differs from the world's. Much of the world knows a little about God except what can be seen through the lives of God's people. What kind of God do people think you represent? Then you and your house will be rid of the frogs. They will remain only in the Nile River. Do it tomorrow, Pharaoh said. All right, Moses replied. It will be as you have said. Then you will know that there is no one like the Lord, our God. The frogs will leave you in your houses, your officials, and your people. They will remain only in the Nile River. So Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh's palace, and Moses cried out to the Lord about the frogs he had afflicted on Pharaoh. And the Lord did just what Moses had predicted. The frogs in the houses, the courtyards, and in the fields all died. The Egyptians piled them into great heaps, and a terrible stench filled the land. But when Pharaoh saw that the relief had come, he became stubborn. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. So the Lord sent a plague of gnats next. So the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, raise your staff and strike the ground. The dust will turn into swarms of gnats throughout the land of Egypt. So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. And when Aaron raised his hand and struck the ground with his staff, the gnats infested the entire land, covering the Egyptians and their animals. All the dust in the land of Egypt turned into gnats. Pharaoh's magicians tried to do the same thing with their secret art, but this time they fell, and the gnats covered everyone, people and animals alike. This is the finger of God, the magicians exclaimed to Pharaoh, but Pharaoh's heart remained hard. He wouldn't even listen to them, just as the Lord had predicted. A plague of flies next. Then the Lord told Moses, get up early in the morning and stand in Pharaoh's way as he goes down to the river. Say to him, this is what the Lord says, let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, then I will send swarms of flies on you. Your officials, your people, and all the houses, the Egyptian homes, will be filled with flies. And the ground will be covered with them. But this time I will spare the region of Goshen, where my people live. No flies will be found there. Then you will know that I am the Lord, and that I present even in the heart of your land. I will make a clear distinction between my people and your people. This miraculous sign will happen tomorrow. And the Lord did just as he said. A thick swarm of flies filled Pharaoh's palace and the house of officials. The whole land of Egypt was thrown into chaos by the flies. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron. All right, go ahead and offer sacrifices to your God, he said. But do it here in this land. But Moses replied, that wouldn't even be right. The Egyptians detest the sacrifices that we offer to the Lord our God. Look, if we offer our sacrifices here where the Egyptians can see us, they will stone us. We must take a 3-day trip into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God, just as he commanded us. All right, go ahead, Pharaoh replied. I will let you go into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord your God, but don't go too far away. Now hurry and pray for me. Moses answered, as soon as I leave you, I will pray to the Lord, and tomorrow the swarms of flies will disappear from you and your officials and all your people. But I'm warning you, Pharaoh, don't lie to us again and refuse to let the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. So Moses left Pharaoh's palace and pleaded with the Lord to remove all the flies. And the Lord did as Moses asked and caused the swarm of flies to disappear from Pharaoh, his officials, and his people. Not a single fly remained, but Pharaoh again became stubborn and refused to let the people go. So Exodus chapter 9. Go back to Pharaoh, the Lord commanded to Moses. Tell him this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews says, let my people go so they can worship me. If you continue to hold them and refuse to let them go, the hand of the Lord will strike all your livestock, your horses, your donkeys, your camels, your cattle, your sheep, and goats, with a deadly plague. But the Lord will again make a distinction between the livestock of the Israelites and that of the Egyptians. Not a single one of Israel's animals will die. The Lord has already set the time for the plague to begin. He has declared that he will strike the land tomorrow. And the Lord did just that, as he said. The next morning, all the livestock of the Egyptians died, but the Israelites didn't lose a single animal. Pharaoh sent his officials to investigate, and they discovered that the Israelites had not lost a single animal. But even so, Pharaoh's heart remained hard and stubborn, and he still refused to let the people go. A plaque of festering boils. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, take handfuls of soot from a brick killing and have Moses toss it into the air while Pharaoh watches. The ashes were spread like fine dust over the whole land of Egypt, causing festering boils to break out on the people and animals throughout the land. So they took soot from a brick kiln and went and stood before Pharaoh. As Pharaoh watched, Moses threw the soot into the air, and boils broke out on the people and animals alike. Even the magicians were unable to stand before Moses because the boils had broken out on them and all the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and just as the Lord had predicted to Moses, Pharaoh refused to listen. A plaque of hell next. Then the Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh and tell him, this is what the Lord, the God of Hebrews, says. Let my people go so they can worship me. If you don't, I will send more plagues on you and your officials and your people. Then you will know that there is no one like me on earth, all the earth. By now I could have lifted my hand and struck you and your people with a plague to wipe you off the face of the earth. But I have spared you for a purpose, to show you my power and to spread my fame throughout the earth. But you still lorded over my people and refused to let them go. So tomorrow of this time I will send a hailstorm more devastating than any in all history of Egypt. Quick order your livestock and servants to come in from the fields to find shelter. Any person or animal left outside will die when the hail falls. Some of Pharaoh's officials were afraid because of what the Lord had said. They quickly brought their servants and livestock in from the fields. But those who paid no attention to the word of the Lord left theirs out and open. Then the Lord said to Moses, lift your hand toward the sky so hail may fall on the people, the livestock, and all the plants throughout the land of Egypt. So Moses lifted his staff toward the sky, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and lightning flashed toward the earth. The Lord sent a tremendous hailstorm against all the land of Egypt. Never in all history of Egypt had there been a storm like that, with such devastating hail and continuous lightning. It left all the Egyptians in ruins. The hail struck down everything in the open field. People, animals, and plants alike, even the trees were destroyed. The only place without hail was the region of Goshen, where the people of Israel lived. Then Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron. This time, I have sinned, he confessed. The Lord is the righteous one, and my people and I are wrong. Please beg the Lord to end this terrifying thunder and hail. We had enough, and I will let you go. You don't need to stay any longer. Exodus chapter 9, verse 1. God sent Moses a fifth time to Pharaoh with the demand to let his people go. Moses may have been tired and discouraged by this time, but he continued to obey. What conflict do you have to face again and again? As Moses discovered, persistence is rewarded. Don't give up. All right, Moses replied, as soon as I leave the city, I will lift my hand and pray to the Lord. Then thunder and hail will stop, and you will know that the earth belongs to the Lord. But I know that you and your officials still do not fear the Lord. All the flax and barley were ruined by the hail because the barley in farm heads and the flax was budding. But the wheat and the emmer wheat were spared because they had not yet sprouted from the ground. So Moses left Pharaoh's court and went out of the city, and when he lifted his hand to the Lord, the thunder and hail stopped, and the downpour ceased. But when Pharaoh saw that the rain, hail, and thunder had stopped, he and his officials sinned again, and Pharaoh again became stubborn. because his heart was hard. Pharaoh refused to let the people leave, just as the Lord had predicted for Moses. The plaque says blood. God turns water into blood. Pharaoh magicians also turn water into blood. Frogs cover the land. Pharaoh's magicians also make frogs appear. Gnats, all the dust of Egypt turns into gnats. Magicians say it is the finger of God, but Pharaoh's heart is still hard and stubborn. Swarms of flies cover the land of Pharaoh. Promises to let the Hebrews go, but then the heart hardens. He hardens his heart again. Livestock. All the Egyptians' livestock die, but none of Israel's are even sick. Pharaoh still refuses to let the people go. Horrible boils break out on everyone. Magicians cannot do anything because they have boils too. Hailstorms kill all the slaves and animals left outside. Pharaoh refuses to let the people go, and locusts cover Egypt and eat everything. Everyone advises Pharaoh to let the Hebrews go, but he refuses. Total darkness covers Egypt for 3 days, but the Hebrews still have light. Pharaoh promises to let Israel go, but changes his mind. Then death of the firstborn. The firstborn of all the people and livestock of Egypt die, but the firstborn of the Hebrews live. Pharaoh makes Israel leave, but changes his mind and chases after them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plagues. Exodus chapter 10. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Return to Pharaoh and make your demand again. I had made him in his official stubborn, so I can display my miracle signs among them. I also done it so you can tell your children and grandchildren about how I made a mockery of the Egyptians and about the signs I displayed among them. And so you will know that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews says, how long will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, watch out for tomorrow. I will bring a swarm of locusts on your country, and they will cover the land so that you won't be able to see the ground. They will devour what little is left of your crops after the hailstorm, including all the trees growing in the fields. They will overrun your palaces and homes of your officials and all the houses in Egypt. Never in the history of Egypt have your ancestors seen a plague like this one." And with that, Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Pharaoh's officials now came to Pharaoh and appealed to him. "How long will you let this man hold us hostage? Let the men go worship the Lord their God, and don't you realize that Egypt lies in ruins?" So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. "All right," he told them, "go and worship the Lord your God, but who exactly will be going with you?" Moses replied, "We will all go, young and old, our sons and daughters, in our flocks and herds. We must all join together and celebrate a festival to the Lord." Pharaoh retorted, "The Lord will certainly need to be with you. If I let you take your little ones, I can see through your evil plan. Never only the men may go and worship the Lord, since that is what you requested." And Pharaoh threw them out of the palace. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Raise your hand over the land of Egypt to bring on the locusts, and let them cover the land and devour every plant that survived the hailstorm." So Moses raised his stamps over Egypt, and the Lord caused an east wind to blow over the land all that day and no the night. When morning arrived, the east wind had brought the locusts, and the locusts swarmed over the whole land of Egypt, settling in dense swarms from the one end of the country to the other. It was the worst locust plague in Egyptian history, and there has never been another one like it. For the locusts covered the whole country and darkened the land, and they devoured every plant in the fields and all the fruit and on the trees that had survived the hailstorm. Not a single leaf was left on the trees and plants throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron. I have sinned against the Lord your God, and against you, he confessed. Forgive my sin just this once, and plead with the Lord your God to take away this death from me. So Moses left Pharaoh's court and pleaded with the Lord. The Lord responded by shifting the wind and the strong winds. The west wind blew the locusts into the Red Sea. Not a single locust remained in all the land of Egypt, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart again, so he refused to let the people go. A plague of darkness. Then the Lord said to Moses, lift your hand toward heaven, and the land of Egypt will be covered with darkness, so thick you could feel it. So Moses lifted his hand to the sky, and a deep darkness covered the entire land of Egypt for 3 days. During all that time, the people could not see each other, and no one moved. But there was light as usual where the people of Israel lived. Finally, Pharaoh called for Moses. Go and worship the Lord, he said, but leave your flocks and herds here. You may even take your little ones with you. No, Moses said, you must provide us with animals for sacrifices and burnt offerings to the Lord our God. All our livestock must go with us, too. Not a hoof can be left behind. We must choose our sacrifices for the Lord our God from among these animals. And we won't know how we are to worship the Lord until we get there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart. Once more, he would not let them go. Get out of here, Pharaoh shouted at Moses. I'm warning you, never come back to see me again. The day you see my face, you will die. Very well, Moses replied. I will never see your face again. Exodus 11. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will strike Pharaoh and the land of Egypt, with one more blow. After that, Pharaoh will let you leave this country. In fact, he will be so eager to get rid of you that he will force you all to leave. Tell all the Israelite men and women to ask their Egyptian neighbors for articles of silver and gold. Now the Lord had caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the people of Israel. And Moses was considered a very great man in the land of Egypt, respected by Pharaoh's officials and Egyptian people alike. Moses had announced to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord says at midnight. Tonight I will pass through the heart of Egypt. All the firstborn sons will die in every family in Egypt, from the oldest son of Pharaoh, who sits on his throne, to the oldest son of his lowest servant, girl who grinds the flour. Even the firstborn of all the livestock will die. Then a loud wail will rise throughout the land of Egypt, a wail like no one has heard before or will ever hear again. But among the Israelites it will be so peaceful that not even a dog will bark. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between the Egyptians and the Israelites. All the officials of Egypt will run to me and fall to the ground before me. Please leave, they will beg. Hurry and take all your followers with you. Then only when you will go, I then burn them with anger. Only then will I go. Then burn them with anger. Moses left Pharaoh. Now the Lord had told Moses earlier, Pharaoh will not listen to you, but then I will do even more mighty miracles in the land of Egypt. Moses and Aaron performed these miracles in Pharaoh's presence, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he wouldn't let Israelites leave the country. Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. Did God really harden Pharaoh's heart and force him to do wrong? Before the 10 plagues began, Moses and Aaron announced what God would do if Pharaoh didn't let the people go. When Pharaoh became determined not to change, God confirmed Pharaoh's prideful decision and set in motion the painful consequences of his actions. These days, are you tempted to say, "My will be done"? When God says, "Okay, your will be done," look out. Genesis chapter 12. The Passover, Exodus chapter 12. Before the Lord sent the last plague on the Egyptians, he told the Israelites to prepare themselves for the escape from Egypt. This was the instruction God gave them. On the 14th day of the month, each family is to take a perfect 1-year-old lamb and slaughter it. Every family must mark the doorframe of their house by putting some of the lamb's blood on top and sides. See Exodus chapter 12, verse 3 or 7. That same night, the family is to eat the roast and meat of the lamb, and they must eat the meat with some bitter herbs and thin bread without yeast. Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. They may eat as much as they want, but whatever meat is left by morning must be burnt. They are to eat the Passover meal dressed and ready to travel. They must eat the meal quickly, wearing their belts and sandals, and they must hold the walking stick. See Exodus chapter 12, verse 11. This is the Passover of the Lord. Pharaoh used the Israelites to do all the hard work in Egypt. If he had let the people go free, his own people would have to do the work. See Exodus chapter 1, verse 14. Exodus chapter 14, verse 5. Pharaoh did not believe in God. He believed that his own magicians were the greatest. Even though he saw God's mighty acts, Pharaoh's heart became hard. He became more and more stubborn. See Exodus chapter 7, verse 22. God was going to send his final judgment, the death of the oldest son in every family. The Lord would go through the whole land, from house to house. If he saw the blood on the doorframe, he would pass over the house, and the son inside would live. See Exodus chapter 12, verse 23. The spreading of the blood was an act of faith and obedience, as it is when we ask Jesus to forgive us and save us. When God sees the blood of Jesus' Lamb covering us, we are saved from eternal death and set free from our slavery to sin. John chapter 1, verse 29, Romans chapter 6, verse 17, verse 18. In years to come, the bitter herbs would be a reminder of their hardship and suffering in Egypt. See Exodus chapter 1, verse 14. As they got ready to leave, there was no time to let the bread rise with the yeast. See Exodus chapter 12, verse 34. These were special instructions the Lord gave the people through Moses. See Exodus chapter 12, verse 8, verse 14. Exodus chapter 12. While the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the following instructions to Moses and Aaron. From now on, this month will be the first month of the year for you. Announce to the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each family must choose a lamb or a young goat for a sacrifice, one animal for each household. If a family is too small to eat a whole animal, let them share with another family in the neighborhood. Divide the animal according to the size of each family and how much they can eat. The animal you select must be a 1-year-old male, either a sheep or a goat with no defects. Take special care of this chosen animal until the evening of the 14th day of this month, first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel must slaughter their lamb or young goat at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and smear it on the sides and top of the door frames of the houses where they eat the animal. That same night they must roast the meat over a fire, eat it along with bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. The whole animal, including the head, legs, and internal organs, must be roasted over fire. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. Burn whatever is not eaten before morning. These are your instructions for eating this meal. Be fully dressed, wearing your sandals, and carry your walking stick in your hand. Eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. On that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son and firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt, for I am the Lord. But the blood on your doorposts will serve as a sign marking the houses where you are staying. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. This plague of death will not touch you when I strike the land of Egypt. This is a day to remember each year from generation to generation. You must celebrate it as a special festival to the Lord. This is a law for all time. For 7 days the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, remove every trace of yeast from your homes. Anyone who eats bread made with yeast during the 7 days of the festival will be cut off from the community of Israel. On the first day of the festival and again on the 7th day, all the people must observe an official day for holy assembly. No work of any kind may be done on these days except in the preparation of food. Celebrate this festival of unleavened bread, for it will remind you that I brought your forces out of the land of Egypt on this very day. This festival will be a permanent law for you. Celebrate this day from generation to generation. The bread you eat must be without yeast from the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of that month. During those days, there must be no trace of yeast in your homes. Anyone who eats anything made with yeast during this week will be cut off from the community of Israel. These regulations apply both to the foreigners living among you and to the native-born Israelites. During those days you must not eat anything made with yeast. Wherever you live, eat only bread without yeast. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel together and said to them, Go pick out a lamb or a young goat for each of your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Drain the blood into a basin, then take a bundle of hyssop branches and dip it into the blood. Brush the hyssop across the top and sides of the door frames of your houses. And no one may go out through the door until morning, for the Lord will pass through the land to strike down the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on your top and sides of the door frame, the Lord will pass over your home. He will not permit his death angel to enter your house and strike you down. Remember, these instructions are a permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. When you enter the land the Lord has promised to give you, you are continuing to observe this ceremony. Then your children will ask, What does this ceremony mean? And you will reply, It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. And though he struck the Egyptians, he spared our families. When Moses had finished speaking, all the people bowed down to the ground in worship. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord had commanded through Moses and Aaron. And that night at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the people of Egypt woke up during the night, and loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died. Genesis chapter 12, verse 130. Every firstborn child of the Egyptians died, but the Israelite children were spared because of the lamb's blood on the doorposts of their homes. This is a story of redemption. The central theme of the Bible, redemption, means to buy back. But the Passover story is not the only redemption story. Jesus Christ redeemed us by the death on the cross. Our part is to trust him and accept his gift of eternal life. Titus chapter 2, verse 14, Hebrews chapter 9, verse 13. Have you trusted Jesus and accepted eternal life? So Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. Get out, he ordered. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested, and take your flocks and herds as you said, and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave. All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought we would all die. The Israelites took their bread, dough before yeast was added, and they wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders. And the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. That night the people of Israel left Ramses and started for Succoth. There were about 600,000 men, plus all the women and children. A rabble of non-Israelites went with them, along with great flocks and herds of livestock. For bread they baked flat cakes. From the dough without yeast they had brought from Egypt, it was made without yeast because the people were driven out of Egypt in such a hurry that they had no time to prepare the bread or the other food. The people of Israel had lived in Egypt for 430 years. In fact, it was on the last day of the 430th year that all the Lord's forces left the land. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must be commemorated every year by all the Israelites from generation to generation. Instructions for the Passover. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, these are the instructions for the festival of Passover. No outsiders are allowed to eat the Passover meal, but any slave who has been purchased may eat it if he has been circumcised. Temporary residents and hired servants may not eat it. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Do not carry any of its meat outside, and do not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate this Passover festival. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, let all their males be circumcised. Only then they celebrate the Passover with you like any native-born Israelite. But no uncircumcised male may ever eat the Passover meal. These instructions applies to everyone, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner living among you. So all the people of Israel followed all the Lord's commands to Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the people out of On that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. Exodus 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, dedicate to me every firstborn among the Israelites. The first offspring to be born of both humans and animals belongs to me. So Moses said to the people, this is a day to remember forever, the day you left Egypt, the place of your slavery. Today the Lord has brought you out of the power of his mighty hand. Remember, eat no food containing yeast. On this day, in early spring in the month of Aban, you have been set free. You must celebrate this event in this month each year after the Lord brings you into the land of Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites. He swore to your ancestors that he would give you this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. For 7 days the bread you eat must be made without yeast. Then on the seventh day celebrate a feast to the Lord. Eat bread without yeast during those 7 days. In fact, there must be no yeast bread or any yeast at all found within the borders of your land during this time. On the seventh day you must explain to your children, I am celebrating what the Lord did for me when I left Egypt. This is the annual festival, where it be a visible sign to you like a marked branded on your hand or your forehead. Let it remind you always to recite this teaching of the Lord. With a strong hand the Lord rescued you from Egypt, so observe the decree of this festival as an appointed time each year. This is what you must do when the Lord fulfills the promise he swore to you and to your ancestors. When he gives you the land where the Canaanites now live, you must present all the firstborn sons and the firstborn male animals to the Lord, for they belong to him. A firstborn donkey may be brought back from the Lord by presenting a lamb or a young goat in its place, but if you do not buy it back, you must break its neck. However, you must buy back every firstborn son. And in the future your children will ask you, what does this all mean? Then you will tell them, with the power of his mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, the place of slavery. Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go. So the Lord killed all the firstborn males throughout the land of Egypt, both people and animals. That is why I now sacrifice all the firstborn males to the Lord, except the firstborn sons are always bought back. This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your hand or forehead. It is a reminder that the power of the Lord's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt. Israel's wilderness detour. When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through the Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the promised land. God said if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Thus the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready for battle. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph made the sons of Israel swear to do this. He said, God will certainly come to help you. When he does, you must take my bones with you from this place. The Israelites left Succoth and camped at Ephraim on the edge of the wilderness, and the Lord went ahead of them. He guided them during the day with the pillar of cloud, and he provided the light at night with the pillar of fire. This allowed them to travel by day or by night. And the Lord did not remove the pillar of cloud or pillar of fire from its place in front of the people. Genesis chapter 13, verse 17, verse 18. God doesn't always work in the way that seems best to us. Instead of guiding the Israelites along the direct route from Egypt to the promised land, he decided to take them by a longer route. By going that way, they would avoid a conflict with the Philistines. When God doesn't lead you along the shortest path to your goal, are you tempted to complain or resist? Are you willing to trust him to lead you safely around unseen obstacles? Since God can see your whole journey from the beginning to the end, he knows the safest and the best route to take you. Exodus chapter 14. Then the Lord gave Moses instructions to Moses. Order the Israelites to turn back and camp by I don't know how to say that word. Pihahio. Pihahhiroth. Between Migdol, Migdol, and the sea. Camped there along the shore across from Baal-Zebulun. Then the Pharaoh will think the Israelites are confused. They are trapped in the wilderness. And once again, I will harden Pharaoh's heart. And again, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will chase after you. I have planned this in order to display my glory through Pharaoh and his whole army. After this, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So the Israelites camped there as they were told. The Egyptians pursued Israel. When the word reached the king of Egypt that the Israelites had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds. What have we done, letting all those Israelite slaves get away? They asked. So Pharaoh harnessed his chariot and called up his troops. He took with him 600 of Egypt's best chariots, along with the rest of the chariots of Egypt, each with its commander. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, so he chased after the people of Israel, who had left with fists raised in defiance. The Egyptians chased after them with all the forces in Pharaoh's army, all his horses and chariots, his charioteers, and his troops. The Egyptians caught up with the people of Israel as they were camped beside the shore up here across from Baal-Zebulun. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up in panic, and when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them, they cried out to the Lord. And they said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Didn't we tell you this would happen while we were still in Egypt? We said, 'Leave us alone, let us be slaves to Egypt.' It's better to be a slave in Egypt than a corpse in the wilderness." But Moses told the people, "Don't be afraid, just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea. Divide the waters so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground." And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they were charged in after the Israelites. My great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots and his charioteers. When my glory is displayed through them, all Egypt will see my glory and know that I am the Lord. Then the angel of God, who had been leading the people of Israel, moved to the rear of the camp. The pillar of cloud also moved from the front and stood behind them. The cloud settled between the Egyptian and Israelite camps. As darkness fell, the cloud turned to fire, lightening up the night. But the Egyptians and the Israelites did not approach each other all night. Then Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the Lord opened up a path through the water with a strong east wind. The wind blew all that night, turning the seabed into dry land. So the people of Israel walked through the middle of the sea, on ground with walls of water on each side. Then the Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and charioteers chased them into the land of the sea. But just before dawn, the Lord looked down on the Egyptian army from the pillar of the fire and cloud, and he threw their forces into total confusion. He twisted their chariot wheels, making their chariots difficult to drive. "Let's get out of here, away from these Israelites," the Egyptians shouted. "The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." And when all the Israelites had reached the other side, the Lord said to Moses, "Raise your hand over the sea again." And then the waters were rushed back and covered the Egyptians and their chariots and the charioteers. So as the sun began to rise, Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the water rushed back into its usual place. And the Egyptians tried to escape, but the Lord swept them into the sea. Then the waters returned and covered all the chariots and the charioteers, the entire army of Pharaoh, of all the Egyptians who had chased the Israelites into the sea. Not a single one survived. But the people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground, as the water stood up like a wall on both sides. That is how the Lord rescued Israel from the land of Egypt, the Egyptians that day. And the Israelites saw the bodies of the Egyptians washed up on the seashore. And when the people of Israel saw the mighty power that the Lord had unleashed against the Egyptians, they were filled with awe before him, and they put their faith in the Lord and in his servant Moses. I'm at the last page. A Song of Deliverance, chapter 15, Exodus chapter 15. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has given me victory. This is my God, and I will praise him. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. Pharaoh's charioted army he has hurled into the sea. The finest of Pharaoh's officers are drowned in the Red Sea. The deep waters gush over them. They sink to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Lord, is glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, smashes the enemy. In the greatness of your majesty, you overthrow those who rise against you. You unleash your blazing fury. It consumes them like straw. At the blast of your breath, the waters piled up. The surging waters stood straight like a wall. In the heart of the sea, the deep waters became hard. The enemy boosted. I chased them and catch up with them. I will plunder them and consume them. I will flash my sword. My powerful hand will destroy them. But you blew your breath, and the sea covered them. They sank like lead. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you among the gods, O Lord? Glorious in holiness, awesome in splendor, performing great wonders. You raised your right hand, and the earth swallowed our enemies. With your unfailing love, you lead the people. You have redeemed in your might your guide. You guide them to your sacred home. The peoples hear and tremble. Anguish grips those who live in Philistia. The leaders of Edom are terrified. The nobles of Moab tremble. All who live in Canaan melt away. Terror and dread fall upon them. The power of your arm makes them lifeless as a stone until your people pass by, O Lord. Until the people you purchased pass by. You will bring them and plant them in your own mountain, the place, O Lord, reserved for your own dwelling, the sanctuary, O Lord, that your hands have established. The Lord will reign forever and ever. And when Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and charioteers rushed into the sea, the Lord brought the water crashing down on them. But the people of Israel had walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground. Then Miriam the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine and led all the women as they played their tambourines and danced. And Miriam sang this song: Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. Bitter water at Moriah. Then Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea, and they moved out into the desert of Shur. They traveled in the desert for 3 days without finding any water. And when they came to the oasis of Moriah, the water was too bitter to drink, so they called the place Moriah, which means bitter. Then the people complained and turned against Moses. What are we going to drink? They demanded. So Moses cried out to the Lord for help, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Moses threw it into the water, and this made the water good to drink. It was there at Moriah that the Lord set before them the following decrees as a standard to test their faithfulness to him. He said, if you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God, and to do what is right in his sight, obeying his commands and keeping all of his decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. After leaving Moriah, the Israelites traveled on to the oasis of Elim, where they found the 12 springs of 70 palm trees, and they camped there beside the water. And that is the end of Exodus chapter 15. And tomorrow I will read Exodus chapter 16.